Tim. Welcome to Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on. Well, I can't hide anything from you. You've probably already noticed that that sign behind me is a lie, and we're not live. But I've got something just as engaging as our usual live Q&A, because tonight, as per the holiday season, I'm going to be giving things away, and I'm going to be naming a winner after every watch that I highlight during tonight's broadcast. So yeah, you can't fast forward to the end, and you can't just watch the beginning. You got to watch the whole thing, but hopefully I'll make it fun enough that you won't want to turn me off, mute me, or fast forward. Alright, so why are we not live tonight? Because tonight is the Watch You Want holiday party, and that's the same reason I'm wearing this Dayglow yellow shirt. The theme is Island Chic. That said, our first winner, of course, was Paul Tonka at the end of our last episode. He won the Tag Heuer beach towel. Paul, congratulations. This is going to be on its way out, but I have some equally cool free stuff that I brought from Baselworld for the rest of you. So, first winner of the night is going to be Dmitry Diakonov. He's winning the Wolf Winders Alligator Leather Wallet. Dmitry, congratulations. This is going to go out ASAP with a thank you note from me. I appreciate your support of our channel. And now our first watch of the night, the Gerald Jente Arena by Retro. Now this is where history really pays dividends, because the path from Gerald Jente ownership to this watch to Bulgari today is an interesting one to retrace. Consider that this watch, originally released in 2006, can trace its origins to 1996. In that year, the Gerald Jente manufacturer in Le Sentier released its first jump hour retrograde watch. Now this was a big breakthrough, but not as big a breakthrough as the big sale from that year, when Gerald Jente relinquished a controlling interest in the manufacturer bearing his name and sold it to Hourglass of Singapore. Now Hourglass was a major and remains a major distributor out there, but they didn't just buy Gerald Jente. They also owned Daniel Roth, an acquisition made 2 years prior. This Siamesed the two manufacturers permanently under one roof in Le Sentier. Now, 2000, the Asian financial crisis is in full swing, and Hourglass is looking to raise money. So they actually sell the Gerald Jente Daniel Roth manufacturer to Bulgari. Okay? There's another change of hands. 6 years later, Gerald Jente releases its last and ultimate evolution of the retrograde jump hour format with the watch we're showcasing tonight, the Gerald Jente Arena by Retro. The watch was 45 millimeters with a white gold coined edge case, a tantalum bezel, and one of the richest dials I've ever seen, with a combination of metallic texturing, applied white gold elements, opaque colored panels, also beautiful textured guilloche. It was a little bit of everything in one immense acreage. 45 millimeters, but trust me, even if your wrist is borderline for it, you're going to want to wear it because it has unrivaled presence and character. And it's also something of a last of the line, as only 4 years later, of course, Gerald Jente and Daniel Roth were subsumed into what became manufacturer Bulgari. Same people, same faces, same friendly service under the same roof, but the Gerald Jente brand was effectively discontinued. And if you look at the Octa by Retros today, with the jump hour, you're actually going to see a Gerald Jente movement number. So it survives in one sense, but not with this spectacular aesthetic that I'm showing you in the picture-in-picture. So 2011, LVMH buys Bulgari, and that's pretty much the door closed on the potential for a Gerald Jente manufacturer resurrection. Now heavily invested in Bulgari as both a jewelry house and a watchmaker, I don't see the tide being turned back. But you can still own this watch with its spectacular caliber 7723 automatic. This is a Gerard Perregaux automatic winding 3000 series caliber raised to the level of virtuosity. In elaboration of the bass movement, the Abauche, Gerald Jente builds its own module, and the module finishing, though under the dial and invisible, I've seen it, it's spectacular. And the Potter style gilt finish with gorgeous tight even perlage across all surfaces looks fantastic through the caseback. A caseback that I will mention gives you 100-meter water resistance, so not only do you get a bi-retro minute and date with a jump hour, a spectacular case, an awesome backstory. You also get 100-meter water resistance, so throw it on a textile strap and you're good to take this one for fun in the sun and splish splash at the beach next summer. You can have it all, and you can have it for about $13,000 to $14,000 pre-owned. This is typically where they trade. A lot of watch for the money by any measure. And still serviceable with Bulgari. You can still send it back to the watchmakers that built it. Key, something you cannot do with most discontinued brands. Now, our second winner of the night, Walton Lim. Congratulations, Walton. I want to showcase what you're getting. I'm gonna, looks like I need to zoom out a bit on my macro camera here, but Walton, you're getting a Bremont America's Cup English-made luxury journal. I picked this up at Basel World during an interview with the English brothers, the founders of Bremont. It's beautifully made. It's embossed front and back with the Bremont Company logo and marquee. It's thick, it's rich, it's gorgeous. It's way more than you need for a notebook, but that is the definition of luxury. Walton, congratulations. You're going to have a lot of fun with this one. So jumping into our next watch that we quite frankly should discuss more often. These are watches that fly below the radar but deserve collector recognition. We're going to talk about the Breitling Spatiograph. So technically a member of the Navitimer family, this was a short-lived reference that spread its wings from 1997 to 2002. Now, it's probably the most engaging and original Navitimer since the original 1954 examples. That's right, I don't buy the 1952 origin story. I'm in the 1954 camp, believing that the Navitimer emerged in 54 with the AOPA and not in 52. So bottom line, this is a watch that features a 10-minute countdown timer. The classic Navitimer circular slide rule analog calculator, and all of that in an automatic case with a vertical clutch chronograph engagement. Now, it's an interesting watch to look at because it is so stripped down. It's chronograph seconds, it's the countdown timer, and it's the slide rule. And it's a great size at 41.5 millimeters. So if you like the heritage of Breitling, but you can't bring yourself to buy a vintage watch because the provenance is too difficult to determine, and you can't stomach the modern Bentley aesthetic of Breitling watches, whether Breitling for Bentley or not, the Spatiograph is a great choice, and you do have options within the narrow range of production. Breitling managed to produce two distinct dial generations, one with applied indices, one with printed Roman numerals. They also managed to produce two interesting pre and post chronometer certification variants, which is to say, up till 2000 they were not chronometer certified. Afterwards, the alphanumeric case code, the third digit was a 3, so they were chronometers. And you have two case metal options. You have gold, very rare, and steel, more common. None of these watches are common, objectively speaking, so take one step back, and if you own a Spatiograph, any Spatiograph, chances are it's going to be the only one you ever encounter. If you're a Breitling traditionalist, again, you don't quite want to go vintage, this is a great option, a fascinating watch, a handsome one, nicely sized, and at $2,500 to about $4,000 US, very accessibly priced on the pre-owned market. Okay, so moving on, I want to give a shout out to our third winner of the night, Jacob Feek, or Fike. Jacob, I'm sorry to mangle your name, but I'm going to make it up to you, with a Glasuta original wallet, linen sack, and e-catalog. Now this is something, likewise, I picked up at Basel this year. I'm going to go to my macro camera here. This is a beautiful leather and metal wallet that comes with a Glasuta original thumb drive inset within a brushed metallic credit card style holder. Now, granted, it's just the Basel World novelties, but I don't think you'll miss the fact that, yeah, it may not contain the rest of the catalog, but it is a wonderful keepsake from a monumental year in watchmaking. A handsome thing that you can put on your shelf next to your watches. It's a great accessory. And that's without saying anything about this wallet, which is as soft as, well, frankly, as soft as any nubuck leather I've ever encountered, and that's precisely what it's made of, with a light suede texture, rich and thick leather folds, and of course, an interior that can store your credit cards, your cash, identification, what have you, for your trip to Basel, hopefully in the near future. Congratulations, Jacob, this one's yours. Okay, so a watch from the vintage column that we don't discuss often enough, but we should. The Jaeger-LeCoultre Polaris 2 reference E870. Now this is a watch that was built from roughly 1970 to 1975, and it's predecessor is a watch virtually everyone knows. That's the original E859 Jaeger-LeCoultre Polaris diving alarm. We remember this watch first because it used the super compressor case that was ubiquitous in Swiss dive watches in the 60s, but also because there was a 2009 Jaeger-LeCoultre factory-issued tribute model of this watch. Thanks to the tribute to Polaris, the secondary market and auction prices of the original E859 went through the roof, and quite frankly, they've never come down completely. But here's the thing, while you may have to pay upwards of $20,000 for a good E859 Polaris, they made 1,715-ish of those from 1963 to 1970. The Polaris 2 was only made in 1,120 copies, and because it has lower mainstream recognition, you're going to be able to get into one for between $4,000 and $7,000 US. Now here's the thing. Only 1,120 of these made, but across 3 different variants. One with a blue dial, always is signed LeCoultre, the US marquee that was used from about 1936 to about 1983. The gray and the red versions were only sold in the European market, and they are far less common, with the red being the rarest of them all. Those are exclusively signed Jaeger-LeCoultre. Remember, when you're buying a Jaeger-LeCoultre of this era, the dial should match the movement, so always get dial and movement photos when buying this vintage watch. LeCoultre should have a LeCoultre movement, Jaeger-LeCoultre should have a Jaeger-LeCoultre movement. Don't settle for a mixed watch. That's a Franken watch. Now, in terms of why you would want it, first, it's got a great modern size. It's about 43 millimeters across and even taller from top to bottom. Second, it's colorful, it's fun, it's unpretentious. It has a 70s vibe that's a little bit hip, a little bit campy, a little bit funky, all of the above. And again, it hasn't become a watch snob watch, so prices are still reasonable. Finally, you know, it's worth mentioning that original E859 looks like every other super compressor watch released during the 60s, whereas the Polaris 2 looks like almost nothing else. It's a little bit of a 70s take on the famed 1950s Disco Volante look with a diving bent. So definitely take a look at the Polaris 2 while you still can. Which brings us to our 4th winner of the night, George Marquez. This is my man in Hoboken. He has been a longtime viewer of the show, a viewer of my recorded broadcasts, and a participant in the comment threads. I always appreciate that support, George. I have not forgotten you. You are going to get an Hublot carry case. Now, whether you're an Hublot fan or not, you're going to love this. It's big, it's substantial. The carry handle is made of leather, and it's got wonderful compartments inside such that it's ideal for hauling work accessories, your watch collection, or simply picking up swag during your next trip to Baselworld. I hope to see you there. So, George, congratulations. You're getting this cool Hublot tote bag. All right. Now, the next watch may be the most accessible watch that I've discussed yet in this series of watches we don't recognize, don't discuss often enough. And it is the Fortis B42 Flieger Chronograph alarm. This is an interesting watch because in the Fortis Aviation collection, there's the Recon, which is sort of like a living version of this watch. Unlike the others we discuss, this watch is kind of still in production, one variant of it anyway. But with a history going back to 1998, there is fantastic pre-owned selection, and you can pick one up, honestly, between about $2,500 and $3,500 US in stainless steel pre-owned. So very accessible. Why would you want it? Because it gives you so much content for the money. This was the first mechanical chronograph to also feature an alarm, and it has big time pedigree because, like Vincent Calabrese with Corum and Bell and Ross with their jump hour, or George Daniels with Omega and the coaxial, this watch was produced largely with a partnership with Paul Gerber of Zurich, AHCI member, watchmaker, engineer, high horology extraordinaire. This is a gentleman who is up there with the best of the best, and one of the precious few, the roughly 3 dozen plus or minus 4, who are members of the AHCI, the elite academy of the world's foremost watchmakers. Now, you're getting a Paul Gerber with this B42 Flieger alarm chronograph, but you're getting it for the price of perhaps a strap on a true Paul Gerber custom watch. Moreover, it has more than just a chronograph and alarm. Consider all the content you're getting. You're getting an alarm with an on-off function. You're getting automatic winding. You're getting a date. You're getting a chronograph. You're getting 20 ATM water resistance. So yes, you can take this one scuba diving, snorkeling, fun in the sun, high and dry, under the waves, you name it. This is a sports watch that can do it all. And it's also worth mentioning that with versions from 42 millimeters to 44 in steel and titanium with DLC black and conventional uncoated cases, rotating bezels and fixed bezels, there are several, I would even say many versions of this watch. So you're going to find one that you like. And again, they're all going to be within that price range that I mentioned, still very accessible. There have even been some limited edition and chronometer grade examples. So again, great selection. It really rewards deep diving into what's been built. And again, with production dating back to 1998, awesome selection. You can even get an old tritium dial if you look carefully enough. So the Fortis B42 Flieger Marine Master and its many variants. This is a watch we don't discuss often enough that collectors should absolutely look into because it offers a ton of value. Which brings me to my fifth and final winner of the night. Dan Tanis, I'm speaking to you. You have just won an Omega Accessory travel case. This is something you can use if you're traveling with more than one watch. Put one of them in the travel case. Ideal for Omegas, but big enough to fit just about anything up to an Hublot King Power. It's a great accessory to have and a fun one to own. So I want to thank all of you who tuned in tonight. Obviously, I regret not being able to come to you live, but you know, duty beckons, and I'm also on photo duty for the company Christmas/holiday party. I'll be back this Monday with Monday Mailbag. Josh Thanos and I will be back on the job here live 7 U.S. Eastern Monday afternoon. For all of our friends around the world, thank you so much for logging on. I'm Tim, this is Watch You Want, and I'll see you Monday.